What if Cleopatra had married Julius Caesar? Cleopatra, the Queen of the Nile, and Julius Caesar, the unrivaled Emperor of Rome, crossed paths in Egypt in 48 BC. Their encounter sparked a romance intertwined with political ambitions. Though their promised union never materialized and both rulers faced tragic ends, it invites a compelling question: what if they had married? How might this crucial alliance have reshaped the ancient world? Today in history, we explore how the potential marriage of Cleopatra and Julius Caesar could have altered history forever. Welcome to Histri, your source for alternate history entertainment. The exploration of likely events from the past and their effects on the world. Please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Chapter 1. 2 Unconquerable Empires. The Roman Empire was one of the greatest civilizations in history, and Julius Caesar is often seen as the leader who brought Rome to its peak. Cleopatra, the last queen of Egypt, was famous for her charm and strong leadership. In 48 BC, they found themselves in a unique position to form a strategic alliance. If Julius Caesar and Cleopatra had married, this union would have combined the power of Rome and Egypt, creating a powerful empire. An heir from this alliance could have united and controlled both territories, easily defeating their enemies. At this time, after Caesar's victory over Pompey in the Battle of Pharsalus, Rome was still vulnerable. Cleopatra was struggling to keep her throne against her brother, Ptolemy XIII. When they met, both leaders saw a chance to strengthen their position. Caesar needed an ally in the eastern Mediterranean, and Cleopatra needed a strong protector to secure her shaky reign, which was threatened by internal conflicts and rival factions in Egypt, including those loyal to her brother, who was trying to remove her from power. That's why, by marrying, they would have consolidated not only their kingdoms but also their armies. With Egypt securing the supply of grain and vital resources, Rome could have focused on neutralizing external threats. Powers that would have feared this alliance would have included the Parthian Empire in the east, a constant thorn in Rome's side, especially after the disastrous Roman defeat at the Battle of Carrhae in 53 BC, where Crassus, a member of the first triumvirate, was defeated and killed. Another significant threat would have been the growing influence of the Hellenistic kingdoms in Asia Minor, such as Pergamum and Cappadocia, which, although temporary allies of Rome, had their own interests that could conflict with a strengthened Egypt. Additionally, in the north, the Germanic and Celtic tribes were a constant danger that Caesar had already faced in his campaigns in Gaul, but remained a latent threat. If Caesar and Cleopatra had united their forces, their first action would likely have been to secure the eastern borders of both empires. With their combined resources, they could have launched a massive campaign against Parthia, aiming not only to avenge Crassus's defeat, but also to expand their control into Persian lands. This success would have cemented their reputation as invincible leaders, outshining even Alexander the Great in terms of conquests and battles won. Without a doubt, the world would have been different if that had occurred. The combination of Cleopatra's strategic intelligence and Caesar's military prowess would have resulted in an unprecedented empire. Rome would have remained the capital of military power, while Alexandria, with its famous library and lighthouse, would have become the intellectual and cultural heart of the ancient world. Chapter 2. Caesarion, the last heir of Rome and Egypt. Although Julius Caesar and Cleopatra never formalized their union, their meeting in Egypt resulted in the birth of a son in 47 BC. This child, Caesarion, was seen by many as a symbol of the union between Rome and Egypt, even though Caesar never officially recognized him as an heir in Rome. However, if Caesarion had not died, political circumstances had favored both rulers, they might have forged an agreement allowing their son to rule as heir to both thrones. Such an alliance would have not only united Rome and Egypt into a single power, but also extended their prosperity and ensured an outstanding collaboration in ancient history. Bust of Caesarion, son of Caesar and Cleopatra. Nevertheless, it is essential to remember that this remains a hypothesis, as Caesarion was executed by Octavian's orders in 30 BC. Octavian, who would later become Emperor Augustus, ordered Caesarion's executions, part of his strategy to consolidate power after the fall of Cleopatra and Mark Antony. By eliminating the son of Caesar and Cleopatra, Octavian removed a potential dynastic threat and ensured that there would be no legitimate claims to the throne that could challenge his authority. Caesarion was executed in Alexandria, where he was in custody, in a swift and unceremonious operation, definitively removing any aspiration he had to power. This action marked the end of the Ptolemaic dynasty and ensured Octavian's absolute control over Egypt, fully integrating it into the Roman Empire. Octavian Augustus ruled Rome from 27 BC until his death in 14 AD. If this strategic move had succeeded for Cleopatra, she would have ensured her safety for life. In the face of any external threat, she could have called upon Roman troops to defend her kingdom from an enemy siege. It would have been intriguing to imagine what might have unfolded had someone like Caesarion held such power, reigning as both Pharaoh of Egypt and Emperor of Rome. Chapter 3: Union of Empires and Fusion of Cultures. But if we look at the reality of history, the marriage between Julius Caesar and Cleopatra would have seemed very unusual in Rome. Roman society, despite being cosmopolitan in many ways, still had a strong cultural identity and was opposed to the idea of a Roman leader marrying a foreign queen. Romans looked down on Eastern cultures, considering them decadent and morally inferior. A marriage with Cleopatra would not only have broken social norms but also raised doubts about Caesar's loyalty to Rome, putting him in a politically precarious position. But as we know, history is full of possibilities. From a social perspective, the union between Egyptians and Romans could have been feasible, of course, but with many challenges ahead. Cleopatra, with her Hellenistic education and personal charisma, might have played a significant role in easing tensions between the two cultures. A marriage between Caesar and Cleopatra could have been seen as an attempt to create a new dynasty that blended Roman and Egyptian traditions, much like when Rome adopted Greek culture after conquering Greece in 146 BC, following the destruction of Corinth. After the conquest, Rome not only embraced the Greek pantheon, but also integrated much of Greek philosophy, literature, and arts into its own culture. Greek gods were reinterpreted under Roman names, with Zeus becoming Jupiter and Athena becoming Minerva, demonstrating how Rome absorbed and adapted a foreign culture into its own traditions. Similarly, a marriage between Caesar and Cleopatra could have been viewed as a process of cultural syncretism, where Egyptian traditions and beliefs merged with Roman ones. This would have required leadership capable of presenting the union not as a threat, but as an opportunity to enrich the culture of both nations. Egypt and Rome were both unmatched in fields like engineering, the arts, architecture, science, mathematics, and law. What if these two powers had combined their strengths? Any historian would be thrilled just thinking about it, as the advancements that could have emerged would have never been seen. It's fascinating how a single change in a historical event can completely alter the course of history. If Cleopatra and Julius Caesar had united their destinies in marriage, it's plausible that their tragic deaths might not have been so violent. Together, they would have consolidated their forces, ready to face any nation that dared to threaten their domains. Such a marriage would have made Caesarion, their son, the heir to both thrones, further strengthening their influence in their respective territories, possibly triggering an unprecedented economic boom. Perhaps, under this prolonged union and power, the fall of Rome might have been avoided, don't you think? Thank you for watching. Let us know your thoughts, questions, or ideas for future videos in the comments. Remember to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for new content from Histri, your ultimate source for alternate history entertainment.